Morning, everybody. Long time no see. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin with Parshas Devarim, of course, a new book. Chapter 1, verse 1. Eila HaDvarim, and again, this is really, it's a very interesting book because this is basically just Moshe Rabbeinu's farewell to the Bnei Yisrael, more or less. Eila HaDvarim, these are the words, Asher Diber Moshe Kol Yisrael, that Moshe said to all of the Jewish people, Be'evar Yarden, on the other side of the Jordan. In other words, he didn't cross the Jordan with them. To cross the Jordan would be to go into the land of Israel. That would happen after Moshe passed away. Bamidbar, in the desert. Ba'arava, in the plain. Mol Suf, opposite the sea. Bein Paran, uvein Tofel, between Paran and Tofel, Vilavan, this place called Lavan V'Chatziros. Chatziros with some language of courtyards, maybe it's just the proper noun. V'di Zahav, and something about gold. Okay, the straightforward meaning of the verse is it would seem to be saying that Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to them about the places that they lived in, or the places that they journeyed through, or maybe it's describing where he was with them or where he had been with them. And there's just a bunch of places listed here. It's a very interesting Targum Unclus. Rashi cites this also, but Targum Unclus, now we very rarely look at Targum Unclus, and there's a reason for that. There's really two reasons for that. One is it's written in Aramaic, so normally it doesn't help so many people, when it's most of us are more comfortable. We're most comfortable with English, second most comfortable with Hebrew, and Aramaic is maybe third, maybe not. But the other reason that we normally don't look at the Targum Unclus is almost always a relatively literal translation of the pasuk. Every now and then there's a nuance with a word, but whereas Rashi regularly cites Midrashim and the like, the Unclus is basically, translating the pasuk. So if you want to know what a word means, you look at Unclus. But look at the Unclus on this pasuk. Elaine Piskamaya, these are the words, the Malil Moshe Kol Yisrael, that Moshe said to the Jewish people, all the Jewish people, Bivra Diyarden, on the other side of the Jordan, Ochach Yason, he rebuked them, which we didn't see in the pasuk, Al Dechavu V'Madbara, on the fact that they did things that were incorrect in the desert, V'Al Dargizu V'Meishra L'Kavel Yamsuf, and because they angered God in the plain facing the Yamsuf, Bifaran, in the place known as Faran di Tafalu al Mana, that they dealt and they complained about the man, Uvachatzeros, in the place known as Chatzeros, to Argizu al Bisra, that they angered God regarding meat, Vial Davadu Egel Dahav, and because of their creating the golden calf. So this very literal translation, who normally is a very literal translation, looks at basically each of these sites quoted in the pasuk and says either it's a play on words alluding to a sin, or it's alluding to a sin that happened in that place. Where in the world does he get this from? Why does he say it? So it's a very interesting Ramban on pasuk Beis. The Ramban on pasuk Beis is somewhat lengthy, but the last 10 lines or so of the Ramban on pasuk Beis, the Ramban says, Uba'avur shelo ha'Yisrael ata bamidbar. So Ramban says the Jewish people weren't in the desert at this juncture. Kikvar nichnasu be'eretz Moav hanizkeres. It's interesting to think about. I don't know about any of you, but in my mind, the map of the Jewish people of this generation is a very simple map. There's like Egypt and Israel, and there's like a Jordan right by Israel, and then everything else is kind of the desert stuff. I don't know about any of you, but that's more or less how it's recorded in my mind. I'm not proud of that. The Ramban says they weren't in the desert anymore. They were out of the desert. They had already gone in to the land of Moab. Not the land of Israel yet. That's on the other side of the Jordan, but they had gone into the land of Moab. If you remember from last week's parsha, I won't be offended if you tell me that you studied the parsha without me, but that there were battles and they took land and so on. So they're on the Transjordan now, in the land of Moab. They're not in the desert. So therefore, what in the world does it mean in the pasuk when it's talking about Moshe Rabbeinu's parting words to them? The first locator is in the desert. They're not in the desert. So obviously then, Darash Unclus ki bamidbar ba'rava remazim hein l'tochachos. So the Unclus surmises that it must be that this is not where he was speaking to them. It must be this is the nature of what he was saying to them, that these are rebukes that he's giving them. The Ode, ki madua yaskir kol hamakomos ha'ela. The other point is, even if they were currently in the desert, why in the world would it mention all these places? V'yitin simanim u'mitzrayim, u'mitzarim, excuse me, yosem and amocher sadeu. We're giving all these demarcations. There's this, there's that. How many details do you need to describe where they are right now? There's like 8 describers here. What's going on? So first of all, it's not where they were. And second of all, why would you have so many describers? So it must be there's something else going on. V'shira Kasov. Okay. So now let's go a little bit further. So the Unclus would understand the pasuk is saying, these are the words that Moshe said to all the Jewish people on the other side of the Jordan. Diber ba'midbar uvarava uvamosuf uvein paran uvein tofel b'lavan v'chazros v'dizav v'achar asar yom mecharev. So now we list all these places. Ki hiskir lahem, because Moshe Rabbeinu was reminding them, kol ma she'asu b'mkomos ha'ela, everything that they did in these places. V'achrei kein amar hakasav, and afterwards the pasuk says, kisham be'var yarden and iskar, that there in the Transjordan that has been mentioned, hoil livora Torah achrei hochicho osam. Once he gave these words of rebuke, which are being alluded to in this pasuk, he goes through the Torah and explains it to them. Okay, and that's what's going on. Vayan vayomar, starting with verse 6, that Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem Elokeinu diber eleinu b'charev lemor. God spoke to us at Chorev. So then he gets into reviewing the Torah. But it's just an interesting Ramban kind of giving a perspective to this very famous commentary of the Unclus. Okay, let's now go on to verse 9. So Moshe Rabbeinu has just been summarizing the fact that God gave the Jewish people a Torah, and he wants the Jewish people to understand that after the Torah was given to the Jewish people, the plan was to go into the land of Israel. Verse 9, V'omar aleichem ba'esahi lemor. At that time I said to you, Lo uchal levadi se'eseschem. I'm not able to bear your burden alone. Verse 10, Hashem Elokeichem hir bo'aschem. God has made you larger number. V'nchem hayom kichochvei hashamayim larov. And you are today like multiple stars. And God should continue to bless you and make you many in number. And then in verse 12, Moshe Rabbeinu says, I can't handle this all on my own. And therefore, in verse 13, Moshe says, I told you that I need you to find judges. Okay, and if you remember, that is harkening back to Parshas Yisro, where Yisro advised Moshe that the Jewish people, that Moshe shouldn't judge all the cases. There should be a framework of a judicial system, various people assigned as judges. If you remember, there's a famous discussion in Parshas Yisro. When did that discussion with Moshe about judges happen? The Torah was the scene of the giving of the Torah, the 10 Commandments, that also was in Parshas Yisro. So what Yisro says to Moshe about judges is earlier in the parsha than the scene of the giving of the Torah. Is that how it transpired? Is the chronology different? That's a discussion over there. On this topic, if you look at the Ramban on Pasuk Tes, V'omar elechem ba'esahi lemor. Kodem she'amar lanu Hashem b'chorev, Rav lochem sheves b'har hazeh, al das ha'omrim, Kodem matan Torah ba Yisro. The Ramban says, if you say that Yisro came before the Torah was given, and that Yisro's advice to Moshe was before the Torah was given, then actually the psukim here are a little bit out of order, because Moshe has already told the Jewish people that God said it's time to go to Israel. That happened after the Torah was given. But if you say that Yisro spoke to Moshe about the judges before the Torah was given, then we've already flipped around the order. So then why in the world does Moshe Rabbeinu say in verse 9, and I told you at that time that I can't judge you alone anymore? If you say Yisro came before the Torah was given, Moshe didn't tell them at that time he couldn't judge them alone. Moshe told them before the Torah was given he couldn't judge them alone. V'tam bo'esahi b'shivteinu b'chorev. So first of all, what it means at that time is while we were still in that region of the desert. Doesn't mean right after you got the Torah. It means in that general time period. Aval hiskir zeh b'kan lemor. Why is this important for Moshe Rabbeinu to share at this point? This for him to review it specifically at this juncture. Hine kibalnu es Torah. He's telling them, we've accepted the Torah. Vayu aleichem shoftim v'shotrim lishbot ulahanigeschem. And we've created judges and officers to judge you and guide you. V'hinei hayinu muchanim umzumanim lavo ba'aretz. And we were all ready to go into the land of Israel. Vanisa mechorev lidgalenu im shoftenu uzkenenu. And then we ultimately left Har Sinai. We had our flags. We had our various positions within Israel. And then verse 22, Vatikrivune lai kulchem. You all approached me, im chachmechem, virashechem, with your wise men, with your heads, uvikashtem miraglim, and you asked for spies. So the Ramban says that Moshe Rabbeinu was really setting the stage here. You came to Har Sinai, you got the Torah, the plan was to go into the land of Israel, but that wasn't all that happened. We created a whole national framework because it shouldn't be that I'm your only leader. It shouldn't be that I'm the only one you're interfacing with. And we created a whole judicial system. We were all ready. This was how we were going to live in the land of Israel for so much time to come. And then with all of that framework, you messed it all up with the story of the Meraglim. Just an interesting Ramban to keep in mind. Let's go on to verse 13. On this continued topic of Moshe Rabbeinu telling the Jewish people, I can't judge you alone, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Havu lachem, appoint for yourselves, anashim chachamim unvonim, men who are wise and understanding, viduim and known, l'shivtechem, by your tribes, v'asimeim b'rashechem. And if you give me the names, I, Moshe, will appoint them as positions over your tribes. I get it why you need people to be wise and smart, that you want wise, understanding people to act as judges. What does this mean, people that are known? First of all, if you don't know who they are, you're probably not going to recommend them, right? It's such a strange, this is the big three. These are the qualities we're looking for. Wise, understanding, and known. It sounds like the beginning of a joke. Why would he say, what's the idea of being known? Let's jump over to the Ramban, who starts off with Rashi. Viduim l'shiftechem, shem nikarim lachem. You know them. You, the members of a given tribe, know them. Shim balafonai mu'utav bataliso eni odea mihu. A fellow comes, he's going to apply to be a judge. He's wrapped in his talis. He looks real frum. I don't know. Is he legitimate? Is he not legitimate? What was he like 10 years ago? I don't know him. Umeiza shevedu. I don't even know what tribe he's from. He tells me he's from a certain tribe. I don't know. Avalatem makirim osel. Shekidaltem osel. You know him. He grew up among you. You grew up with him. You know him. You're the ones who can really testify to a person. So it's a very interesting, that's what Rashi says. The Ramban is going to go in a different direction. I just want to point out, the Ramban clarifies that according to Rashi, the meaning of the verse is find men who are wise, understanding, and known to your tribes. In other words, it's not that we're saying known, it's known to your tribes. You're the ones who really know about these people, not just how many halachos they know, what their IQ test is, but what their character is and what their history is. So that's just an interesting shot, but we'll see another possibility tomorrow, God willing. Okay.